I thought I was just borrowing fire. What I didn't know was that I'd just touched the one man on the eastern seaboard no one dares to approach without permission. His name was Dante Moretti, and when my fingers brushed his wrist for 3 seconds outside that bar, something in his expression shifted, like I'd broken a seal that was never meant to be opened. He didn't smile. He didn't move. He just watched me with those dark, unreadable eyes as I lit my cigarette and thanked him. By the time I got home that night, his men were already outside my building. And when he appeared at my door an hour later, he said 5 words that turned my world inside out. You're in my world now. You will feel so many emotions in this mysterious love story I'm about to tell. Please support us by clicking subscribe to the channel. October came in cold that year. The kind of cold that bites through your jacket and settles in your bones, making you crave things you've trained yourself not to want. Warmth, connection, a cigarette I couldn't afford but needed anyway. My break came at 11. I pushed through the back door into the alley, fishing for my lighter, patting down pockets I already knew were empty. The street was quieter than usual, just the distant hum of traffic and the muffled bass from the bar's jukebox playing something old and sad. That's when I saw him. He was standing by the front entrance, just outside the pool of yellow streetlight. Tall, dark suit that probably cost more than my rent. The fabric caught the light in a way that suggested money, real money, not the kind you work for. 3 men flanked him at a distance, hands in their pockets, eyes scanning the street like they were expecting trouble, or maybe hoping for it. I should have gone back inside. But my mother's medical bills were still coming, even though she'd been gone for 6 months. And my last cigarette was calling from somewhere deep in my jacket lining. So I walked toward him, each step feeling heavier than the last, my breath visible in the cold air. "Excuse me," I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted. "Do you have a lighter?" He turned, slowly, like he had all the time in the world and knew it. His face was all sharp angles and shadows. Dark eyes that didn't just look at you, they studied you, cataloged you, filed you away for later. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just watched me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. For 3 seconds, maybe 4, he said nothing. His men shifted. One of them took a half step forward, and I realized with sudden, crystal clarity that I'd made a mistake. A big one. Then he reached into his pocket, slow and deliberate, and produced a silver lighter. Expensive. Engraved with something I couldn't read in the dim light. He didn't hand it to me. He flicked it open, held the flame steady, and waited. I had to step closer, had to lean in. And when I did, when my fingers wrapped around his wrist to steady the flame, the entire street went silent. No cars, no music, no breathing. Just the small click of the lighter and the sudden, suffocating awareness that something had shifted. His skin was warm under my fingertips. He didn't pull away, didn't move at all. Just kept those dark eyes locked on mine while I lit my cigarette. My hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. "Thank you," I whispered. He closed the lighter with a soft snick. "You work here?" His voice was low, controlled, the kind of voice that didn't need to be loud to be heard. "Yeah. Just covering a shift." Lie. I'd been covering shifts for 2 years. He nodded once, like he knew. Like he could see through every carefully constructed wall I'd built and found them amusing. "What's your name?" I should have lied again. Should have given him anything but the truth. But something about the way he asked, not demanding, just asking, made me answer. "Mia. Mia." He said it like he was tasting it, testing how it felt in his mouth. Then he stepped back, giving me space I didn't realize I'd lost. "You should go inside. It's cold." It wasn't a suggestion. I nodded, stubbed out the cigarette I'd barely smoked, and walked back toward the bar on legs that felt like water. At the door, I looked back. He was still watching me, still standing in that same spot, surrounded by his men, his face unreadable in the shadows. Inside, the warmth hit me like a wall. I went straight to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, tried to remember how to breathe normally. When I came out, Jenny was waiting by the server station, her face pale. "Mia." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Do you know who that was?" "No." "That was Dante Moretti." The name meant nothing to me. I said so. Jenny grabbed my arm, her nails digging in. "Google him, right now." So I did. pulled out my phone with shaking hands, and typed the name into the search bar. The first result was a news article. Moretti crime family expands territory. Then another. Dante Moretti. Acquitted in federal racketeering case. Photos of him in designer suits, walking out of courthouses, getting into black sedans with tinted windows. My stomach dropped. "Oh God," I whispered. "You touched him," Jenny said. "Nobody touches him without permission. Nobody even gets close." Jesus, Mia, what were you thinking? I wasn't. That was the problem. I was just tired and cold and broke and so desperately lonely that I'd forgotten how to be afraid. The rest of my shift passed in a blur. Every time the door opened, I jumped. Every shadow looked like him. By closing time, I'd convinced myself I was being paranoid, that he'd forgotten me already, that I was nothing, just another face in a city full of them. I clocked out at 2 a.m., pulled on my jacket, and stepped out into the cold. The black sedan was parked across the street, engine running. Windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. My heart stopped. The back door opened. A man stepped out. Not Dante, someone else. Suit. Sunglasses at 2 in the morning. He walked toward me with purpose, with the kind of confidence that suggested he'd never been told no in his entire life. He stopped 3 feet away and held out an envelope. I didn't take it. "From Mr. Moretti," he said. His voice was flat, professional. "I don't want it. He doesn't care what you want. He cares what you need. Take it." My hands shook as I reached for the envelope. Thick paper, expensive. I opened it right there on the sidewalk, under the flickering streetlight. Empty, except for a business card. Heavy stock, embossed lettering, an address in Manhattan, no name, no phone number, just one line printed at the bottom. "Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Don't make me ask twice." I looked up. The man was already walking back to the sedan. "Wait," I called. "What if I don't come?" He paused, turned, and even through the sunglasses, I could feel his pity. "Then he'll come to you." The car door closed. The sedan pulled away, its taillights disappearing into the night. I stood there for a long time, the card trembling in my hand, the wind cutting through my jacket. When I finally looked down at it again, I saw something I'd missed before, written on the back, in black ink, in handwriting that was almost elegant. "From now on, no one touches you but me." I didn't go to the address. Of course I didn't. I'm not stupid, just broke and exhausted and maybe a little bit reckless, but not stupid. Tuesday morning came with the usual routine. Alarm at 6, shower in a bathroom where the tiles are cracked and the hot water only lasts 3 minutes. Instant coffee that tastes like regret. I told myself the card was a joke. A test. Something rich men do when they're bored. I went to work. Murphy's was exactly the same as it always was. Sticky floors, flickering neon, the smell of beer and desperation baked into the walls. I tied my apron, grabbed my order pad, and pretended my hands weren't shaking. Jenny kept looking at me like I was a ghost, like she expected me to vanish any second. "You okay?" she asked during the lunch rush. "Fine." "Mia," I said I'm fine, but I wasn't. Because at 12:30, a man walked in and sat in my section. Dark suit, dark tie, dark everything. He didn't look at the menu, didn't order, just sat there in booth 7 with his hands folded on the table, watching me move between tables, refilling coffee, pretending I didn't notice him. But I noticed. God, I noticed. When I finally approached his table, my notepad felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "What can I get you?" My voice came out steady. "Small miracle. Nothing." He didn't smile. "I'm waiting." "For what?" "For you to finish your shift." The notepad slipped from my fingers. I caught it before it hit the floor, but barely. "I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Moretti sent me. You didn't show up last night. He's concerned." The word concerned sounded wrong in his mouth, like a threat wrapped in courtesy. "Tell him I'm not interested." "I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because he doesn't accept no, and because you don't understand what's happening here." He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen twice, and turned it toward me. A photo. My apartment building. The front entrance. The window of my third-floor studio with the broken blind I kept meaning to fix. Someone had drawn a red circle around it. My blood went cold. What is this? Insurance. Someone's been watching you, Mia, not us. Someone else. And Mr. Moretti would like to know why. I couldn't breathe. The diner was too hot, too loud, too small. Jerry, my manager, appeared at my elbow with his usual scowl, ready to tell me to stop chatting and start working. But then he looked at the man in the suit, really looked at him. And something in Jerry's face changed. Collapsed, maybe, or just gave up. Mia, Jerry said quietly. Take the rest of the day. It's fine. Jerry, I need the hours. It's fine. His voice was tight, scared. He wouldn't meet my eyes. The man in the suit showed Jerry something on his phone. I couldn't see what, but Jerry's face went gray, and he nodded once, sharp and quick, before walking away without another word. What did you show him? Nothing that concerns you. The man stood, adjusting his cuffs with casual precision. Get your things. We're leaving. I'm not going anywhere with you. Then I'll wait. But understand this. Every minute you stay here, you put these people in danger. Mr. Moretti has been very clear about keeping this contained. Don't make it complicated. He said it so calmly, like he was discussing the weather, like my entire world wasn't cracking open right there between the coffee station and booth 7. I grabbed my jacket, didn't clock out, didn't say goodbye to Jenny, who watched me leave with eyes full of questions I couldn't answer. The black sedan was parked in the loading zone, same one from last night. The man opened the back door and gestured for me to get in. I hesitated. This was the moment where I could run, scream, call the police, do anything except climb into that car. But my legs were moving before my brain caught up, and suddenly I was inside, sinking into leather seats that probably cost more than everything I owned. The door closed with a soft, expensive thunk, and there he was, Dante Moretti, sitting across from me in the back of a sedan that smelled like cedar and something darker I couldn't name. He wasn't wearing a suit today, just a black sweater and dark jeans that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. You didn't come last night, he said, not angry, just stating a fact. I was tired. You were scared. Can you blame me? Something flickered in his eyes. Not quite amusement, not quite respect. No, I can't. The car started moving. I didn't know where we were going and was afraid to ask. What do you want from me? My voice cracked on the last word. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, and I realized how close we were, how the space between us felt both infinite and suffocating. Nothing. He said it so simply, like it was obvious. I want to give you something. I don't need anything. You need safety. You need answers. And whether you believe it or not, Mia, you need me. I don't even know you. You will. He pulled out a tablet from the seat pocket, tapped it twice, and handed it to me. Video footage. Black and white. My apartment building. The timestamp said 11:47 p.m. last night, just after I got home. A figure in dark clothing, face obscured, standing outside my building, watching my window. For 11 minutes, my hands started shaking so badly I almost dropped the tablet. Who is that? I don't know yet, but I will. He took the tablet back, his fingers brushing mine for just a second. Someone's using you, Mia, either to get to me or to get leverage for something else. Either way, you're not safe. Why do they even know about me? We met for 5 seconds. 3 seconds. And it was enough. The way he said it made my chest tight. Like those 3 seconds mattered. Like they'd changed something fundamental that couldn't be unchanged. So what? You're just going to protect me? Out of the goodness of your heart? I don't have a good heart. But I do have rules. And one of them is that innocent people don't get hurt because of me. I'm not your responsibility. You became my responsibility the moment you touched me. There it was again. That word, touched. Like it was sacred or forbidden or both. The car stopped. I looked out the window. We were in Manhattan, parked in front of a building made of glass and steel that reached toward the sky like it was trying to escape gravity. Where are we? Somewhere safe. He opened his door, then paused. You can walk away, Mia. Right now. I'll have my men watch your apartment. Do what they can, but they can't be everywhere. And whoever's watching you knows that. And if I stay, then you let me keep you safe while I figure out who's behind this. You stay where I can see you. where my people can see you. It's temporary. How temporary? Until I fix this. I stared at him. At this man I didn't know, whose world I'd stumbled into like Alice down the rabbit hole. Every instinct I had screamed to run. But then I thought about that figure standing outside my building, watching, waiting. What's the catch? No catch, just rules. You follow them, you stay alive. And if I don't follow them, his jaw tightened, then I can't help you. I looked down at my hands, calloused from years of carrying trays, scarred from broken glass and hot plates. These hands had held my mother's while she died, had signed away her medical debt to collectors who didn't care about grief or time or mercy. I was so tired of being alone. Okay, I whispered. Dante's eyes softened just slightly. He nodded once and climbed out of the car. I followed him into the building, through a lobby that looked like it belonged in a magazine, into an elevator with mirrors on every wall. We rode up in silence. 20 floors, 30, 40. The numbers kept climbing until we reached the penthouse. The doors opened directly into an apartment that took my breath away. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan. Furniture that looked like art. A kitchen with appliances I couldn't name. Everything white and chrome and impossibly clean. This is where you'll stay, Dante said. My men will be watching the building. You'll have a driver for anything you need. I've arranged for you to transfer to a restaurant in Midtown. Better pay, safer location. You can't just rearrange my life. I just did. I wanted to argue, wanted to scream, but exhaustion was winning, dragging me under like a riptide. How long? As long as it takes. He walked toward the door, then stopped. Turned back. Mia, one more thing. What? Don't try to leave without telling me. Please. The please surprised me, made him sound almost human. He left before I could respond. The lock clicked. I was alone in a cage made of glass and money and promises I didn't understand. I unpacked my pathetic duffel bag, 3 days' worth of clothes, a toothbrush, my mother's journal, and tried not to think about how easily I'd surrendered. How quickly I'd said yes to a man who probably killed people before breakfast. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I opened it with shaking hands. A photo. A note taped to my apartment door that I hadn't seen when I left this morning. Someone must have put it there after. The message was typed. Simple. Devastating. You were chosen as a message. Run. And we'll make it permanent. 3 days in the penthouse felt like 3 years. I had everything. A bed so soft I couldn't sleep in it. A shower with 6 different settings and water pressure that felt like a massage. Food delivered from restaurants I'd never be able to afford on my own. Thai from the place I'd mentioned once to Jenny. Italian that came in actual china, not takeout containers. Dante's men were invisible but constant. I could feel them watching. A presence just beyond the glass. I had everything except freedom. The new restaurant job was fine. Better than fines, actually. Clean floors, decent tips, management that didn't leer at the waitresses. But the driver was always waiting outside, always watching. A tall guy named Marcus with kind eyes and hands that never strayed far from his jacket. He walked me to the door, waited, walked me back to the car. Sarah called on the 4th night. My best friend since high school. The only person who'd stayed when my mother got sick and my world collapsed inward. Where the hell have you been? Her voice was sharp with worry. You haven't answered my texts. Jerry said you quit Murphy's. I didn't quit. I just needed a change. Mia, what's going on? I wanted to tell her. Wanted to spill everything. The lighter, the car, the man who turned my life inside out with 3 seconds of eye contact. But Dante's rules were clear. No contact with the old life, no explanations, no exceptions. I'm fine. I lied. Just working a lot. New place in Midtown. You sound weird. I'm just tired. Silence on the other end. Then, meet me Friday. That bar in Red Hook we love. 9 o'clock. No excuses. Sarah. No. I haven't seen you in weeks. Something's wrong and you won't tell me what. So we're doing this. Friday, 9. Be there. She hung up before I could argue. I stared at my phone for a long time, watching the screen go dark. Dante said I couldn't leave without telling him. Didn't say I couldn't leave at all. And Sarah was right. I did sound weird. I felt weird. Like I was disappearing inside this golden cage, becoming someone I didn't recognize. Friday came cold and dark. I told Marcus I had a headache, needed to sleep early. He looked skeptical, but nodded. I waited until midnight, then slipped out through the service entrance I'd discovered on day 2. No alarms, no cameras that I could see. The city opened up before me like a mouth, and I ran toward it. The bar in Red Hook was exactly how I remembered. Dim lights, scarred wood, music that was too loud and too old. Sarah was already there, sitting in our usual booth with 2 beers sweating on the table. When she saw me, her face cracked open with relief. "There you are." She stood, pulled me into a hug that felt like coming home. "God, I've missed you. Missed you too." We talked for an hour, about nothing and everything. Her new boyfriend who might be the one, maybe. Her mother's hip surgery. The weather. Safe topics that didn't require me to explain the bruises I didn't have or the fear I couldn't shake. But Sarah knew me too well. "You're different," she said finally. Scared. "What happened?" "Nothing happened." "You're lying." "Sarah, is it a guy? Did someone hurt you?" "Yes." "No." I didn't know how to answer. "It's complicated," I said. "Then uncomplicate it. We're leaving. Right now. My car's 2 blocks away. We'll go to my place, order pizza, and you'll tell me everything." She threw cash on the table and grabbed her jacket. I followed because that's what I always did. Followed Sarah's certainty when my own ran out. The street was quieter than it should have been for a Friday night. Our footsteps echoed off brick walls covered in graffiti and peeling posters. Sarah was talking about her job, some drama with her boss, but I wasn't listening. Because the back of my neck was prickling. That animal instinct that knows when you're being watched. "Sarah," I said quietly, "walk faster." "What?" "Just do it." We picked up the pace. Half a block from her car, 2 men stepped out of the shadows between buildings. Dark clothes. Dark eyes. One of them smiled, and it was the worst smile I'd ever seen. "Mia Carson," he said. My name in his mouth felt like a violation. "We've been looking for you." Sarah grabbed my arm. "Who the hell are you?" "Friends of a friend." The second man pulled something from his pocket. A knife. Long and silver and very real. Moretti can't protect everyone. Not all the time. I should have screamed, should have run. But my legs forgot how to work, and suddenly I was 12 years old again, watching my father's car pull away, understanding that the world was full of people who could hurt you and no one would stop them. "Leave her alone," Sarah said. Her voice shook but held. "We don't want trouble." Too late. The first man moved toward us. Sarah stepped in front of me, brave and stupid and exactly the kind of friend who'd get herself killed trying to save someone else. Then the gunshots came. Not at us. Past us. 3 shots. Fast and precise, echoing off the buildings like thunder. The 2 men dropped, not dead, just down, clutching their legs and screaming. And suddenly there were people everywhere. Dante's people, moving with the kind of efficiency that spoke of training and practice and doing this 100 times before. Marcus appeared at my side, checking me for injuries with hands that were surprisingly gentle. "You okay?" he asked. I couldn't speak, could only nod. Then Dante was there, pushing through his men like Moses parting water. He wasn't wearing a suit, just jeans and a dark jacket. And I realized with cold clarity that he'd come himself, not sent someone. "Come." His eyes found mine across the space, and something in them made my chest crack open. "Are you hurt?" Not a question, a demand. "No." "You're sure?" "Yes." He looked at Sarah, then back at me. "Get in the car. Both of you." "I'm not going anywhere with you," Sarah said. Her voice was high, panicked. "Mia, who is this? What's happening?" "He's..." I didn't know how to finish that sentence. What was he? My captor? My protector? The man who'd turned my life into a nightmare or maybe saved it from becoming one? "He's the reason you're alive," Marcus said quietly. "So get in the car." The ride back was silent except for Sarah's breathing, fast and shallow and close to hyperventilating. Dante sat across from us, his jaw tight, his hands folded in his lap like he was praying or maybe counting to 10,000. "I told you not to leave," he said finally. His voice was soft, dangerous in its softness. I know. I told you it wasn't safe. I know. Then why? Because I needed to feel like myself, just for an hour, just to remember who I was before you. His eyes met mine, and for just a second, something human flickered there. Understanding, maybe, or regret. At his office, not the penthouse, somewhere else, somewhere darker. He showed me the security footage on his laptop, me, leaving the building, Sarah's bar, the two men following us from 3 blocks away. And there, in the corner of the screen, just visible in the streetlight, another figure, watching everything, recording it. Zoom in, Dante said to the tech guy hovering behind him. The image pixelated, then sharpened. A face I knew, a face I'd tried to forget. Marcus. Not Marcus, the driver. Marcus, my ex. Marcus, who'd said he was moving to California 2 years ago for a job he never named. Marcus, who'd known exactly how to hurt me and had done it with surgical precision before disappearing. No, I whispered. That's not possible. It's him, Dante said. He's been working for the Volkoffs for 6 months, maybe longer. Sarah grabbed my hand. Mia, who is that? But I couldn't answer, because the world was tilting sideways. And I understood with horrible clarity that I'd never been free. Not 2 years ago. Not now. Marcus had left me, but he'd never really gone. He'd just been waiting, watching, planning. Dante closed the laptop with a soft click. You were never random, he said. They chose you specifically, because of him. Because you were vulnerable and alone and exactly the kind of person someone like me might notice. You were bait. Mia? From the beginning. The room was spinning. Sarah was talking, asking questions I couldn't hear over the roaring in my ears. Then Dante's phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his face went stone cold. What? I asked. What is it? He turned the phone toward me. A video. Playing automatically. Sarah, my Sarah, tied to a chair in a room I didn't recognize. Her face was bruised, mascara running, terrified. But Sarah was sitting right next to me, holding my hand, breathing. That's not possible, I said. She's right here. The Sarah beside me smiled, pulled off a wig I hadn't noticed in the dark, and underneath was someone else entirely, a woman with sharp features and sharper eyes. Hello, Mia, she said in a voice that wasn't Sarah's. I'm Alexei's sister, and you've just made this very easy. The real video kept playing. Marcus's voice off camera, calm and cold. Tell Moretti we want to trade. The girl for the girl. Midnight tomorrow. Red Hook Pier. Come alone, or we send her back in pieces. The woman who wasn't Sarah moved fast. Too fast for someone who'd been sitting still. Her hand went to her jacket, and I saw the gun before Marcus grabbed her wrist, twisting it with a precision that suggested he'd done this before. The weapon clattered to the floor. Dante didn't flinch, didn't even look surprised. Take her downstairs, he said quietly. Find out who else knows she's here. 2 of his men appeared like ghosts, hauling the woman away. She didn't struggle, just smiled at me with teeth too white, too sharp. Your friend's already dead, she called over her shoulder. You're just too stupid to know it yet. The door closed. Silence filled the space like water, drowning everything. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the image of Sarah, my real Sarah, tied to that chair, terrified, waiting for someone to save her, waiting for me. We're getting her back, I said. Not a question, a statement of fact. Right now, tonight, no. Dante's voice was steel. We do this smart, not fast. They're going to kill her. They're going to use her. There's a difference. He picked up his phone, started making calls in a language I didn't understand. Russian, maybe? When he finished, he looked at me with eyes that had gone cold and distant. Sit down. I don't want to sit down. Mia. He said my name like a command, like he was used to being obeyed and couldn't fathom any other outcome. Sit down. My legs gave out. I collapsed into the leather chair across from his desk, and suddenly I was shaking so hard my teeth chattered. Marcus appeared with a blanket, wrapped it around my shoulders without a word, kind eyes. But all I could see was the other Marcus, The one who'd held me while I cried about my mother. The one who'd said he loved me before vanishing like smoke. How long have you known? My voice came out broken. About Marcus. About all of it. Dante leaned against his desk, arms crossed. 3 days. Since the first surveillance footage came back. And you didn't tell me. I needed to be sure. Sure of what? That my ex-boyfriend is working for the people trying to kill me? That I've been a pawn this entire time? Sure that you could handle it. I laughed. It came out harsh, ugly. Do I look like I'm handling it? You're still here. Still breathing. Still fighting. He moved closer, crouched down so we were eye level. That's more than most people could do. His proximity made my skin electric. I hated it. Hated that even now. Even terrified and furious and falling apart, some part of me wanted to lean into him. To let him carry the weight I'd been holding alone for so long. What do they want? I asked. Really want? It can't just be about me. It's never just about one person. He stood, walked to the window overlooking a city that glittered like broken glass. The Volkov family has been trying to move into my territory for 18 months. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking, enterprises I've deliberately kept out of New York. We've been at a stalemate. Until you... I'm nobody. You're somebody I noticed. That makes you valuable. He turned back, and something in his expression shifted. Softened. They've been watching me for months, waiting for a weakness. You walked up to me on that street, touched me like I was human, and gave them exactly what they needed. So this is my fault. This is their fault, and Marcus's, and mine, for not seeing it sooner. The weight of it pressed down on my chest. Sarah was in danger because of me. Because I'd been lonely and desperate and stupid enough to ask a stranger for a lighter. What do we do? I asked. We negotiate, we plan, and we follow my rules. Your rules? 3 of them, non-negotiable. He held up one finger. You don't leave my sight until this is over. No exceptions, no bathroom breaks alone, no midnight escapes. You stay where I can protect you. I wanted to argue, couldn't find the energy. 2. You tell me the truth. About Marcus. About your past. About anything that might help me understand how they knew you'd be perfect bait. No secrets. And the 3rd? He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was different. Rougher. You trust me. Even when it's hard. Even when I do things you don't understand. You trust that I'm trying to keep you alive. That's a lot to ask from someone who's basically my kidnapper. I'm not your kidnapper. I'm your only chance. The words hung between us. True and terrible. Fine, I said. 3 rules. But I have one of my own. His eyebrow raised, almost a smile. Almost. What's that? You don't lie to me. Not once. Not to protect me. Not to make things easier. Not for any reason. Because the second you do, I'm gone. And I'll take my chances with the Volkovs. He studied me. Really studied me. Like he was seeing past the fear and exhaustion to something underneath. Something worth keeping. Deal. He said finally. Over the next 2 days, the world narrowed to this. Dante's office, his apartment, the car between them. He worked constantly, phone calls, meetings with men in expensive suits who looked at me like I was furniture. I learned his rhythms. Black coffee at 6 a.m., bourbon at midnight. The way he rubbed his left temple when he was thinking. The small scar above his eyebrow he never explained. He asked me about Marcus. I told him everything. How we'd met at a party 3 years ago. How he'd been charming and attentive and exactly what I needed after my mother's diagnosis. How he'd stayed through the worst of it, the hospital visits, the medical bills, the crushing weight of watching someone you love disappear by degrees. And how, 2 weeks after the funeral, he'd said he was moving to California for a job opportunity he couldn't pass up. Did you love him? Dante asked. We were in his apartment, 2 a.m. He was drinking bourbon. I was drinking tea that had gone cold. I thought I did. Now I don't know what was real. The pain was real. The rest doesn't matter. Easy for you to say. No. He set down his glass. My wife died 5 years ago. Car accident. Except it wasn't an accident. Someone cut the brake lines because they wanted to send me a message about territory disputes. She was 28. pregnant, and I never saw it coming. The air left my lungs. Dante. I loved her. She loved me. And someone still used her to hurt me. So when I tell you the pain is real and the rest doesn't matter, I'm not guessing. I set down my tea, moved across the room without thinking, sat beside him on the couch, close enough that our shoulders touched. "I'm sorry," I said. "Me too." We sat like that for a long time, not talking, just existing in the same broken space. On the third day, he showed me the plan. Maps of Red Hook Pier, positions for his men, contingencies labeled A through F. It was military precise, professional, terrifying. "You're not going," he said. "Like hell I'm not. Mia, she's my best friend. My only friend. If you think I'm sitting in some safe house while you trade me for her, I'm not trading you." He said it with such certainty that I almost believed him. "I'm getting her back. You're the leverage that keeps them honest. If you're there, they have no reason not to kill you both. Then what's the point? The point is I end this. Tonight. And you stay alive." But I knew he was wrong. Could feel it in my bones. They'd never let Sarah go. They'd never let me go. This was bigger than territorial disputes and power plays. This was about breaking Dante Moretti. And I was the hammer they'd chosen. That night, while he slept, because even demons sleep sometimes, I found what I was looking for. A folder on his desk labeled with my name. Inside, surveillance photos, financial records, and a file on Victor Carson, my father, the man who'd abandoned us when I was 12, except he hadn't abandoned us. He'd fled. From the Volkovs, from debts he couldn't pay, from a life that was swallowing him whole, and now he was back, working for them. The fixer, Dante's notes said. The man who makes problems disappear. I was staring at his photo, older, harder, unrecognizable, when Dante appeared in the doorway. "I was going to tell you," he said. "When? When you were ready." "I'm never going to be ready for this." He crossed the room, took the file from my shaking hands, and did something unexpected. He pulled me against his chest. Not roughly. Not like he was trying to control me. Just holding me while I fell apart. "Your father orchestrated this," he said quietly into my hair. "Marcus was his idea. The surveillance, using you to get to me. It's all him." "Why?" "Because the Volkovs promised him immunity if he delivered me. And you were the perfect weapon." I pulled back, looked up at him. "So what am I to you? Really?" His jaw tightened. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, something I didn't plan for. Something that scares me more than the Volkovs ever could. Before I could process that, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his entire body went rigid. "What?" I asked. "What is it?" He turned the phone toward me. A video, playing automatically. Sarah, still tied up, but worse now. Bruised, bleeding. And Marcus's voice. "We're done waiting. Midnight tonight. The pier. Just the girl. No Moretti. No army. Or we start sending pieces." The video ended. A new message appeared. This one text. "She tried to protect you. Told us nothing. But everyone breaks eventually. Tick-tock." Dante's hand crushed the phone. "Get dressed. We're moving up the timeline." "What does that mean?" He looked at me with eyes that had gone cold and lethal. "It means I'm going to show you what happens when someone threatens what's mine." "And Mia?" "Yes. After tonight, there's no going back. You'll know exactly who I am, what I'm capable of, and you'll have to decide if you can live with that." I thought about Sarah, about my father, about Marcus and 3 seconds outside a bar that had rewritten my entire existence. "Then let's go," I said. The warehouse in Red Hook smelled like salt water and rust and something darker I didn't want to name. Dante's men moved through the shadows like they were part of them. Silent, efficient, lethal. I stood beside him behind a stack of shipping containers, wearing a bulletproof vest that felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "You shouldn't be here," he said for the third time. And yet here I am. His jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. We both knew I'd find a way to follow, rules or no rules. Better to have me where he could see me than sneaking in alone. 11:59. The pier stretched out before us, empty except for the wind and the distant sound of water slapping against wood. Then headlights. A black van pulling up slowly, deliberately. The back doors opened. Sarah stumbled out, hands zip-tied, a bag over her head. My heart stopped. She was alive, bruised and terrified and so small in the vastness of that pier, but alive. Marcus appeared behind her. Not my Marcus anymore, something else entirely. His hand on her shoulder possessive, cruel. And beside him, a man I hadn't seen in 13 years. Older, harder, unrecognizable except for the eyes. Those hadn't changed. My father, Victor Carson, Dante said quietly. I should have guessed. I couldn't speak, couldn't move. Because seeing him there, standing beside the man who'd pretended to love me, made something inside me crack open and bleed. Dante's hand found mine in the darkness. Squeezed once. Stay here, no matter what happens. Promise me. Dante, promise. I promise. He stepped out into the light. The transformation was instant. Gone was the man who'd held me while I cried, who'd shown me his wife's photo with hands that shook. This was Dante Moretti, the legend, the monster. He moved with predatory grace, hands in his pockets, like he was taking an evening stroll instead of walking into an ambush. Gentlemen, he called, his voice carried across the water. Shall we discuss terms? Marcus pushed Sarah forward. She stumbled, caught herself. The bag was still over her head, and I could see her shoulders shaking. Terms are simple, Marcus said. The girl for the girl. You walk away, we walk away. Everyone lives. Except you're lying. Am I? You've never intended to let either of them live. This was always about humiliation, about proving Dante Moretti can be hurt, that he'll sacrifice his empire for one insignificant woman he barely knows. My father stepped forward then. His voice was exactly as I remembered, smooth, convincing, the voice that had told me bedtime stories and promised everything would be okay, even as our world fell apart. She's not insignificant to you, though, is she, Moretti? We've been watching. The way you look at her, protect her. You've gone soft. I've gone patient. There's a difference. Then prove it. Walk away. Let us have her. Show the city that Dante Moretti doesn't break for anyone. The silence stretched. I could feel Dante's men around me, tense and ready. Could feel my own heartbeat loud enough to drown out the ocean. No, Dante said simply. Marcus smiled. It was the smile I remembered from 3 years ago, the one that had made me feel safe. Now it just looked predatory. Then we do this the hard way. Everything happened at once. Marcus pulled a gun. Sarah screamed through the bag. My father stepped back, hands raised, already moving toward the shadows. And Dante didn't run, didn't flinch. He raised one hand and the world exploded with light, flashbangs, smoke grenades, his men pouring in from every direction. I lost sight of everything in the chaos, just shapes moving through white smoke, the sharp crack of gunfire, someone screaming orders in Russian. Then I saw him, my father, running toward the van, alone, abandoning Marcus and Sarah like they'd never mattered at all, and something inside me snapped. I ran, broke my promise, broke cover, ran after the man who'd left me twice. Once when I was 12 and needed him, and again right now when I needed answers more than air. Stop! My voice ripped through the smoke. Victor Carson, you stop right now. He did. Turned. And the look on his face when he saw me, not surprise, recognition, like he'd been expecting this moment, waiting for it. Mia. My name in his mouth felt like a betrayal. You shouldn't be here. Neither should you. I was close enough now to see the lines around his eyes, the gray in his hair. Why? Just tell me why. Because I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Not when you owe the Volkovs what I owe them, not when they own every piece of you that matters. He took a step toward me, and I saw something flicker in his expression. Regret, maybe, or just exhaustion. I left to protect you and your mother. They wanted me to do things, terrible things. I said no. So they said they'd take it out on you instead. So you ran. Left us with nothing. I left you with your mother, your life, your innocence. That was everything. The smoke was clearing. I could hear Dante's voice shouting my name, furious and terrified. But I couldn't look away from my father's face. And now, I asked, what about now? Now I'm trying to buy my freedom. One last job, they said. Deliver Moretti, and I'm done. Clear. Free to disappear for good. By using me. By using the one thing that could break him. He smiled, sad and broken. I watched him, for weeks. Saw the way he looked at you, like you were something precious, something worth protecting. I knew he'd come for you, knew he'd sacrifice everything. And I hated myself for it. But Mia, I hated the Volkovs more. Behind him, Marcus was on his knees, zip-tied, bleeding from somewhere I couldn't see. Sarah was free, the bag off her head, sobbing in the arms of one of Dante's men. It was over. The trap had failed. And my father was still standing here, telling me he'd sold me to buy his freedom. I don't forgive you, I said. My voice came out steady, clear. I don't forgive you for leaving, for using me, for any of it. I don't expect you to. But I understand. And that's worse, because now I have to live with knowing you loved me enough to leave, but not enough to stay. His eyes filled with something that might have been tears. He opened his mouth to respond. The gunshot cracked through the air. My father's expression went blank. Surprised. He looked down at his chest, at the blood spreading across his shirt, then back up at me. Run, he whispered. He collapsed. I whirled around. Marcus, bleeding, beaten, somehow still holding a gun he must have hidden. His smile was vicious and triumphant and completely insane. If I can't have you, he said, aiming at my chest, no one can. Dante appeared between us. Appeared, like he'd materialized from nothing. His body blocking mine, his gun already raised. Wrong answer, he said. One shot. Clean. Precise. Marcus went down. Then Dante was turning, checking me for wounds with hands that shook, his eyes wild with something I'd never seen before. Fear. Are you hurt? Tell me you're not hurt. I'm fine. The words came out mechanical. My father, I know. I'm sorry. I looked past him. My father was still breathing, but barely. Dante's medic was already there, working fast, but I could see the truth in his face. Too much blood, too much damage. I knelt beside him, took his hand. It was cold. Mia. His voice was barely a whisper. I'm sorry, for all of it. You deserved better. Yeah, I did. Be better than me, better than this world. Promise me. I couldn't speak, could only nod. He smiled, small, sad, final. Then his hand went slack in mine, and he was gone. The rest happened in a blur. Dante's men cleaning up, Sarah being loaded into an ambulance, still crying, calling my name, the police arriving, one's on Dante's payroll, apparently. Everything sanitized and controlled and explained away. I sat on the edge of the pier, legs dangling over the water, and felt nothing. Not grief, not relief, just empty. Dante sat beside me, didn't speak, just existed in the same broken space. He left me twice, I said finally. And I never got to tell him I loved him anyway, that I understood, that I would have helped him if he'd just asked. Would you have? I don't know. Maybe that's the point. We'll never know what we could have been to each other. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, my wife's last words were asking if I'd fed the cat. We didn't have a cat. She was delirious from blood loss. And I lied and said yes. I've wondered every day since what she really wanted to say. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man who'd dragged me into his world and protected me from mine. Who'd shown me violence and tenderness in equal measure. Who'd become something I couldn't name and didn't know how to want. What happens now? I asked. Now the evidence points to me. He said it calmly, like he was discussing the weather. Marcus had a recording device, video of me shooting him. Self-defense. But it doesn't look good. Your father's death. Even though I didn't pull that trigger. I'm tied to it. The Volkovs made sure of that. So, you're going to prison. Unless someone can prove I was protecting you. That all of this was self-defense. That your father and Marcus were working for the Volkovs, not me. Understanding crashed over me like a wave. You need me to testify. I need you to tell the truth. The whole truth. About Marcus. About your father. About everything. He turned to face me fully. But Mia, if you do this, you destroy your father's name, expose him as a criminal, erase whatever good memories you have left. And if I don't, then I go away for a very long time, and you're free. Clear. No ties to any of this. The choice sat between us. Heavy. Impossible. So you're asking me to choose between you and my father's memory. I'm asking you to choose the truth, whatever that means to you. The sun was starting to rise, pink and gold over the water, beautiful and indifferent. I need time, I said. You have until tomorrow. Then they come for me. He stood, walked away, left me sitting there with ghosts and choices and a future that looked nothing like the life I'd imagined 3 weeks ago when I'd asked a stranger for a lighter. I didn't go back to the penthouse. Instead, I sat in the hospital waiting room where they'd taken Sarah, drinking coffee that tasted like ashes, watching the sun come up through windows that needed cleaning. When they finally let me see her, she was awake, bruised but alive. She took one look at me and started crying. I'm so sorry, I whispered. Shut up, she said, grabbing my hand. Just shut up and let me look at you. Later, she asked the question I'd been dreading. What are you going to do? I told her about the choice. My father's memory or Dante's freedom. The truth or the comfortable lie. Your father used you twice, she said quietly. Dante's been honest about who he is from the start. The difference matters, Mia. Dante's lawyer arrived at dawn. Sharp suit, sharper eyes. She laid it out with clinical precision. Without my testimony, Dante goes to prison for 15 to 20 years. With it, my father becomes a headline. A criminal who used his daughter as bait. My privacy disappears. My life becomes public property. You have until 5 p.m., she said. I found Dante at his office, packing. When he saw me, he went still. Tell me about your wife, I said. Not how she died, how she lived. He looked surprised. Then, Elena. She was a second-grade teacher. Believed every kid deserved a chance. She knew what I was, what I did. And she loved me anyway. His voice cracked slightly. When she died, I promised myself I'd never let anyone close enough to hurt like that again. Then you touched my wrist for 3 seconds, and every wall I'd built started cracking. My breath caught. Dante, I'm not asking you to save me. I'm asking you to be honest. If you testify, do it because it's true, not because you think you owe me. And what is this between us? He reached out, tucked hair behind my ear. Something that scares me. Something I don't deserve. Something I can't walk away from. I closed my eyes, felt the weight of every choice I'd never asked for. I'm going to testify, I said. Tell the truth about everything. Not for you. For me. Because I deserve a life that isn't built on lies. Something in his face softened. Mia. But after this, we're done. You go back to your world. I go back to mine. You think you can just walk away? I have to try. The testimony took 6 hours. I told them everything. Marcus, my father's connection to the Volkovs, the warehouse, how Dante had stepped between me and a bullet. When it was over, I walked out into sunlight that felt too bright. My phone buzzed. Turn on the news. Every channel had the same story. Victim's daughter testifies father was criminal informant. My photo everywhere. The narrative already written. The girl who betrayed her father to save her Mafia boyfriend. Dante called. Mia, I'm sorry. You're cleared. I testified. We're done. I hung up. Turned off my phone. Stood on the sidewalk feeling nothing. That night, alone in a cheap hotel room, the knock came at midnight. Dante stood in the hallway, exhausted and raw. You said we were done, he said. We are. Then why can't I stop thinking about you? Why does the thought of you alone make me want to burn the world down? He took one step closer. I'm in love with you, Mia Carson. Have been since you looked at me like I was human. My hands shook. I can't. Then destroy me. I'd rather burn with you than be safe without you. Something inside me broke. I kissed him, desperate and clumsy and utterly consumed. When we pulled apart, I whispered, "I love you too, and I hate you for making me feel it." He smiled. Real and devastating. Fair enough. Outside, sirens wailed. His phone buzzed repeatedly. "That's your lawyer," I said. "I know," but he held me closer. One more minute. Just one more minute where it's just us. We stood there, holding each other while the city hummed below, and I realized, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is let yourself be loved. The phone call came at 3 a.m. Not Dante, his lawyer, voice sharp with panic. They arrested him an hour ago. New evidence. A witness claiming Dante ordered your father's death before the warehouse. It's fabricated, but it's good. Professional. Someone inside the department is working for the Volkovs. I sat up, heart hammering. What do I do? Nothing. Stay hidden. They're looking for you too, as a material witness or accomplice. We're not sure yet. She hung up. I stared at the darkness, feeling the walls close in. I couldn't do nothing, not anymore. By dawn, I'd made a plan. Reckless, probably stupid, but mine. My father had kept files. Insurance, he'd called them. Evidence against the people he worked for, stored somewhere safe in case they ever turned on him. If I could find them, I could prove the Volkovs orchestrated everything. Clear Dante. End this. The storage unit in Queens was exactly where I remembered, a gray building behind a check cashing place, the kind of location designed to be forgotten. Unit 237. The lock was old. I broke it with a crowbar I'd bought at a hardware store, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it twice. Inside, boxes of documents, USB drives, and a laptop covered in dust. I powered it on, praying the battery still held a charge. It did. The files were organized meticulously. Recordings of conversations between my father and Alexei Volkov, photos of money exchanges, contracts signed in blood or close enough, and buried at the bottom, a video dated 3 months ago. My father's face filled the screen, haggard and desperate. "My name is Victor Carson. I'm recording this as insurance. Alexei Volkov has ordered me to compromise Dante Moretti using my daughter as bait. If anything happens to me, this is proof that everything, the surveillance, Marcus's involvement, the warehouse setup, was orchestrated by the Volkov family, not Moretti. I'm doing this under duress. I never wanted Mia involved, but they threatened to kill her if I refused. So I'm trying to protect her the only way I know how, by making sure the truth survives even if I don't." The video ended. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, finally understanding. My father hadn't abandoned me. He'd been trying to save me. Badly. Imperfectly, but trying. Footsteps outside the unit. I looked up. Marcus stood in the doorway. Alive. Bloodied, but alive. One arm in a makeshift sling. His smile was broken and manic. "You always were too curious for your own good," he said. "You're supposed to be dead. Dante's a good shot, but not perfect. Missed anything vital. And the Volkovs? They take care of their investments." He pulled a gun with his good hand. "Now give me the laptop, and maybe I'll let you walk away." "You're lying." "Yeah, I am. But it was worth a try." I grabbed the laptop, held it like a shield. "Why, Marcus? Why did you do this to me?" "Money, power, a chance to be more than some nobody working retail. The Volkovs offered me a future. You offered me, what, debt and dead-end shifts and a girlfriend who cried herself to sleep every night? I loved you. I know. Made it easier." He gestured with the gun. "Laptop. Now." I threw it at his head. He ducked, but it bought me seconds. I ran, out of the unit, through the corridor, toward the exit. Behind me, Marcus was shouting, limping after me, the gun-cracking shots that ricocheted off metal doors. I burst into daylight and nearly collided with a black sedan. The door opened. Not Dante's men. Police. Detectives I recognized from the testimony. "Mia Carson," one of them said, hand on his weapon. "You need to come with us. There's a man with a gun inside. We know. We've been following you since you left the hotel." Marcus appeared in the doorway, saw the police, and his face went white. He raised his gun anyway, suicide by cop or desperation, I couldn't tell. The detectives moved faster. 3 shots. Clean. Final. Marcus crumpled. I stood there, shaking, clutching a USB drive I'd managed to grab before throwing the laptop. The detective approached slowly, hands visible. "You have evidence?" he said. Not a question. "Yes." "Evidence that could exonerate Dante Moretti?" I looked at him. Really looked. Saw the calculation in his eyes, the way his partner was positioned, not protecting me, but containing me. "Who sent you?" I asked quietly. "Really?" His expression didn't change. "Does it matter? Moretti's going away for a long time unless you hand over whatever you found. But if that evidence implicates the wrong people, people with badges, people with power, you might find yourself facing charges too. Obstruction? Conspiracy? We can make a lot of things stick when we want to. Understanding hit like cold water. The Volkovs had people everywhere, even here. I had 2 choices: hand over the evidence and trust a corrupt system to do the right thing, or run and hope I could get it to someone who'd actually use it. "I need to think," I said. "You don't have time to think." His hand moved toward his weapon, not threatening, not yet. But the promise was there. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Storage unit, back exit, 30 seconds. Trust me." D. I looked at the detective, at Marcus's body, at the USB drive in my hand that held the truth and all its terrible consequences. Then I ran. The back exit led to an alley where Dante waited in an unmarked car, engine running. I threw myself into the passenger seat, and we were moving before I'd even closed the door. "How did you know?" I gasped. "I've had people watching you since you left the hotel." "Did you really think I'd let you disappear?" His jaw was tight, eyes scanning mirrors. "What did you find?" I held up the USB drive. Everything. My father's confession. Proof the Volkovs orchestrated it all. Recordings, documents, enough to bury them and clear you. And the police back there? Compromised. They wanted the evidence destroyed. He nodded once, unsurprised. We drove in silence to a building I didn't recognize, his lawyer's office. Within an hour, copies of everything were in the hands of the FBI, the media, everyone who mattered. The lawyer looked at me with something like respect. "You just started a war," she said. Good. I was tired of running. The fallout was brutal and swift. Federal raids on Volkov operations, arrests that reached into the police department, the DA's office, places I'd thought were untouchable. Dante's charges were dropped. My father's name was cleared posthumously, a criminal, yes, but also a man who'd tried to protect his daughter the only way he knew how. Marcus was buried quietly. No one came to his funeral except his mother, who I'd never met. I didn't go. Some doors need to stay closed. 3 weeks later, I stood in a small apartment in Brooklyn. Not the penthouse, not a hotel, just mine. Paid for with money Dante insisted I take for the medical debts, for the testimony, for everything. He didn't ask to come in, just stood in the hallway, hands in his pockets, looking uncertain for the first time since I'd met him. "So," he said, "what now?" "Now I figure out who I am without someone else deciding for me. And us." I looked at him. This man who'd destroyed my life and saved it in the same breath, who'd shown me violence and tenderness, danger and safety, everything I'd spent years avoiding. "Ask me again in 6 months," I said. "When I'm ready. When we're both ready for something that isn't built on crisis and adrenaline." He smiled, sad but understanding. 6 months, maybe less, maybe more. "I'll wait." He handed me a card with just a phone number. "When you're ready, not if, when, call me." He walked away. I watched him go, then closed the door and stood in my empty apartment. Opened the window. Let fresh air in for the first time in what felt like years. On the table, his card caught the light. I didn't throw it away. Didn't call either. Just left it there. A promise, a possibility, a choice that was finally, completely mine. Outside, the city hummed with life. And for the first time since borrowing a lighter from a stranger, I felt like I could breathe. If you made it to the end of this story, let us know in the comments which city you're watching from, and click the yellow bell to subscribe to the channel and support us. Keep the adventure going by clicking on the suggested video on your screen.